Hey, what's going on, peeps, denizens of YouTube, and welcome to my new show. Oh my god, I am so excited to do this. I've been practicing and working on this for well, a very long time. Really excited for this, guys. So, what's this? This is my new show, and this is supposed to be a combination of, I guess, my love for Let's Plays and my normal show, which is my Secrets show, where I pretty much find secret interesting things that there is about games and show them to you guys to hopefully give you things that you've never even knew existed. And this is what this is, right? So in a lot of ways this is kind of a walkthrough. I'm gonna be going through the game, showing you guys things that you might not know, really everything there is to know about the game, secret items, secret characters, every branching storyline that you might get for every single different bit of dialogue option that you might get in the game, all the endings, all the secret characters. There's a lot to discover in this game, and I'm here to let you guys know what those all are. Hopefully it's gonna be fun. This happens to be one of my favorite games of all time, only second to Pokemon Blue, but there's so much nostalgia running through that game that honestly I don't see any game really surpassing that ever. But I think that speaks pretty highly of this game. One of my favorite games of all time, like, by far. So, that's gonna be awesome. But I feel like it's probably better if I show you guys what this is, more than just trying to explain it. So, why don't we get started? This game takes you into the world of Tethys, in the province of Ferelden, where the Darkspawn are assaulting the lands, a blight upon the world, and it might be up to us to stop them. Welcome to the world of Dragon Age.
The Chantry teaches us that it is the hubris of men which brought the Darkspawn into our world. The mages had sought to usurp heaven, but instead, they destroyed it. They were cast out, twisted and cursed by their own corruption. They returned as monsters, the first of the Darkspawn. They became a blight upon the lands, unstoppable and relentless. The Dwarven kingdoms were the first to fall, and from the deep roads, the Darkspawn drove at us again and again, until finally we neared annihilation. Until the Grey Wardens came. Men and women from every race, warriors and mages, barbarians and kings. The Grey Wardens sacrificed everything to stem the tide of darkness, and prevailed. It has been 4 centuries since that victory, and we have kept our vigil. We have watched and waited for the Darkspawn to return. But those who once called us heroes have forgotten. We are few now, and our warnings have been ignored for too long. fate. For I have seen with my own eyes what lies on the horizon. Maker, help us all.
Now, after that badass cinematic, we're presented with the character generation, and this is where everything starts to get a little bit more interesting. The background you select will determine which of the 6 distinct opening stories you play through. It also affects how our characters respond to you throughout the game. Well, indeed. As you can see, well, you can obviously choose your gender, but more importantly, you have three races to choose from. The humans, the elves, and the dwarves. And then obviously you have the 3 classes, warrior, mage, and rogue. It is very, very important that you choose one carefully, not just because it is your main character and you're gonna use it for the rest of the game, but whatever you choose will give you a very different origin story. As you see down there, the origin story has a couple of restrictions. You can only get some depending on your race and class, which is important to know. Why is that important? Because the way, as the little tutorial said, characters will treat you differently depending on what you are. So if you're, for example, a human warrior or a human rogue, you can be a human noble. If you're a human noble, then players will recognize your nobility and they will call you like, oh, my sir, or lord. And other people will like recognize you as kind of a big deal. It also obviously changes the way you start the game. The little introductory section is very different depending on what race and origin story you have. If you're an elf, people will treat you like, well, garbage, I guess. Because elves are not really looked too very high upon in this game. You can be either a city elf or a wood elf. If you're a dwarf, you can either be rich, you can be the son of the king, or you can be just a commoner. We are going to be choosing the human rogue noble. There's a reason for that. There are actually multiple reasons for that. The human noble is one of my favorite origin stories, but also is one thing I forgot to tell you guys about. The ending. You can get a lot of different endings in this game, and depending on what origin story you choose from, that ending will obviously differ. One of my favorite endings has you be a human noble, so that's one of the main reasons why I want to be one. I guess I would have rather been a mage, but I don't really, I really do like the origin story for the human noble, so why don't we just do that? Born to wealth and power, second only to royalty. You find your training in both diplomacy and battle put to the test as your brother leads the bulk of your family's forces to war in the south. Yeah, we have a Banhorn. We're kind of a big deal around this part. Now, it's probably gonna take a very long time because I want to make my character just right, so I'm gonna cut it out. Give me just a minute. So this is what I'm gonna go with. I don't usually tend to dabble too much in here because you can change literally everything about him. The shape of the eyes, the size, the spacing, the nose, the size, depth, height, width, like there's really no limit to how you can customize your character. I like this one. I think it's pretty cool. It's kind of a handsome dude, which is gonna come in handy in a couple of conversations. It really makes no actual gameplay difference, but you know, you can't just be kind of a weird looking guy and nail all those persuasions on girls, if you know what I mean. Well, that's it. I do want to let you guys know here, you can change the portrait here, and it's kind of important, I would say. It's one of my favorite aspects of the whole customization option, since you kind of get to look at that portrait a lot. So I think it's cool. You can do this. You can change the background. Choose something cool. Let's see. What's fantastic? I like that. It's like in space or something. Okay. Yeah, okay, that's fantastic. You can also change the expressions, which is cool. Every character is going to have different expressions in the game, and I guess you guys are going to see it as we kind of go along. You can make it silly, or you can make him angry. But I think, suave. Now, we're just going to have a standard face. Let's not be too weird about it. I think that's cool. And lastly, the voice.
No, it is gone.
How do you do?
Greetings.
Greetings. Charmed, I'm sure.
Greetings.
There we go. So, since we're going to be a rogue, we might as well just... I guess we can make him... cocky.
How do you do?
Yeah, I think it works well. You can just choose quick play and then the game chooses all your perks, skills, and talents for you. But come on, we're RPG enthusiasts here. Let's choose it for ourselves. Now, The main stat screen, this is the first tier of things that you have to do after you level up. There are going to be 3 of them, so this is going to take a long time, guys. This is going to be a long episode because of this, because there's cinematics to watch. There is a lot of explaining to do, and there's this, the whole leveling thing, which is going to take a while, so if you want to skip this, there's going to be a little annotation below. You can click that, but for those of you who are interested in my character, this is what's going to be. Now, our character is going to be 19 dexterity and 16 cunning. I'm going to get us to why I'm doing this in a bit, but first I want to explain all the different stats. Strength, your basic stat for warriors. It's pretty basic. Increases the damage you do with weapons, and increases your ability to resist physical things that I guess use your physical resistance check to see whether or not you fail it. I don't know if I'm explaining myself correctly, but there are going to be things like, for example, knockdowns that are going to battle how much strength and constitution you have to see if it actually works or not, and, you know, that's pretty good, I guess. Dexterity is the same thing as strength, it's just based for rogue characters, so this is where most of your damage is going to come from. This is probably something that not many people are aware of, and the game doesn't really explain to you very well, but even dexterity weapons like daggers also use strength to deal damage with. Daggers, for example, have, I believe they take 50% of your strength and 50% of your dexterity to deal damage, so you still want to level the strength as much as possible. I just wouldn't go above 20. Even if you're a rogue, you're still going to be using strength to equip armor, so I guess we're going to get more deeper into that as we get gear that actually needs it. Willpower is just a secondary skill, not that important. It's mostly just for mages. It increases your stamina and mana, and stamina regeneration and mana regeneration. Again, not that important for us, more of a mage kind of thing. Same thing with magic, it increases your spell power, which makes your spells either last longer or deal more damage. Again, mage stuff, let's not worry about it. Cunning! Cunning is a secondary main skill for rogues, since it increases its ability to do damage with certain skills, but also is required for a lot of spells. We're gonna get us to that later, as to why I leveled it up to 16. It also, I guess, increases your armor penetration and things like that, just secondary skills, which we're gonna need later. And lastly, Constitution increases your health. Pretty standard. Very important to know is that armor in this game doesn't use Constitution as a requirement. It uses Strength. Doesn't matter what character you are, it'll use Strength. So Constitution is not that important, unless you're a tank. But other than that, don't worry too much about it. Here, the second tier of things that you need to do. Skills. This is mostly off-combat stuff. Not much of this you're actually going to use in combat. And some of them do, but I guess I can explain all of them later. Coercion. This is the reason why I got 16 in Cunning. Because as you can see here, it requires Cunning to level up. The first one only requires 10, so you can always get it regardless of really how much points you put into it. But, as you can see, it'll require more Cunning as you go along. To the max of 16, which is why, again, I use 16. I guess I keep saying the same thing, but there we go. So just based on what we start with, we can already get Master Coercion if we level up. Well, we're gonna need to level up a couple of times to get this, so let's not worry too much about it. It's pretty important since this is going to be the main skill that you use to influence characters around. As you go in through the dialogue options that you're gonna be given, you're gonna have the ability to persuade people or intimidate people, and this is the main way you do it. Every coercion level gives you an equivalent of 25 points, either to strength or cunning, into your persuasion level. If you want to intimidate somebody, then you need strength. If you're gonna persuade somebody, then you need cunning. Every point of skill that you level here will give you an equivalent of 25 points to that stat. Very important. I'm going to show you guys every single requirement for every single persuasion check later, so don't worry too much about it. Stealing, you can pickpocket enemies. The more you level it up, the easier it is. Trap making, the more you level it up, the better traps you can make. Survival, it's mostly just so that you can see the presence of nearby creatures. Very important. Herbalism, you can create potions. Potion making, you can create poisons. Pretty straightforward, to be honest. Coercion is really the most complicated thing, I would say. Combat training. This is the one that actually influences you in terms of combat. The more combat training you have, the more attack you have, the more defense you have, the more armor you have, etc. It just gives you the nice kind of bonus to combat. One thing that I'll let you guys know here is that attack and defense is not necessarily damage and resistance. Attack in this game is chance of actually hitting the target. It's not damage. Defense is chance of actually getting hit. It's not armor. Armor is what actually mitigates damage, I guess is the best way to do it. This is also really useful to get higher level skills. Some really high level spells will require you to have higher combat training, so this is probably one of the best things to equip. Which means that I'm going to do Coercion, and this is probably going to be the first main thing that I'm going to focus on. And Combat Tactics, it's a little bit more in-depth. I'll get to that later. Don't you worry too much about it. Now, the last one, the last tier of things that you need to do every time you level up. It's talents. These are your skills and spells that you're going to use in combat, pretty much, or for most of the game, I would say. Now, as you can see, this is my rogue talent tree. This is what rogues get. The warriors get a very similar one, and mages do as well, but the mages are way more. They're a lot more, because for the mage you get like primal spells, and you get entropy spells, and you get spirit spells. Like, they get a whole list of book of spells. So we'll get to those as soon as we get a mage. For now, you see, this video is already gonna run for too long, so I'm just gonna glimpse at this for now. Most important thing for now is going to be Deft Hands. This will allow us to open up doors that are locked, chests that are locked, and disarming traps. Very useful. Get this as your first thing. I'll explain that later. It's going to be pretty important. I'll explain to why later. Don't worry about it. Now, dual weapons. Warriors and rogues get this, as well as archery. Both warriors and rogues get it. Since we're going to be double daggers for now, we are going to get dual weapon sweep. It's just a spell, or I guess a skill, if you want to call it that. We'll worry about that on the next episode, as I'm gonna get deeper into the whole talent system later on, because this is gonna run so long. Anyways, guys, that's our character. Now, welcome to the human novel origin story.
For generations, your family, the Kuzlans, has stewarded the lands of Highever, earning the loyalty of your people with justice and temperance. When your country was occupied by the Orlesian Empire, your father and grandfather served the embattled kings of your land. Today, your elder brother takes up House Kuzlan's banner in service to the crown, not against the men of Orlais, but against the bestial Darkspawn rising in the south.
I trust then that your troops will be here shortly.
I expect they will start arriving tonight, and we can march tomorrow. I apologize for the delay, my lord. This is entirely my fault.
No. The appearance of the Darkspawn in the south has us all scrambling, doesn't it? I only received the call from the king a few days ago myself. I'll send my eldest off with my men. You and I will ride tomorrow just like the old days.
True, though we both had less gray in our hair then, and we fought Orlesians, not monsters.
At least the smell will be the same. I'm sorry, Pup, I didn't see you there. Hal, you remember my son?
I see he's grown into a fine young man. Pleased to see you again, lad.
And pleased to see you too. This is going to be the first main kind of point of the game, which is the dialogue options. As you can see here, we get different options as to how to converse with this guy. Our character is actually mute. It's one of those silent protagonists, so I'm gonna be making the voice myself. I hope you guys understand that. Now, and you all how. It's a pleasure to see you too.
My daughter Delilah asked after you. Perhaps I should bring her next time.
Oh, that actually would be very delightful. Wasn't she like a lot younger than me, though?
As you get older, those years make less difference. A lesson often hard won.
I doubt he'll be receptive, Hal. My fierce boy has his own mind these days, make her bless his heart.
As uniquely talented as his father, I'm sure.
At any rate, Pop, I summoned you for a reason. While your brother and I are both away, I'm leaving you in charge of the castle.
Wow, that's kind of a lot of responsibility. Are you certain of this?
Only a token force is remaining here, and you must keep peace in the region. You know what they say about mice when the cat is away, yes? There's also someone you must meet. Please, show Duncan in.
It is an honor to be a guest within your hall, Tyrn Cousland.
Your lordship, you didn't mention that a Grey Warden would be present.
Duncan arrived just recently, unannounced. Is there a problem?
Of course not. But a guest of this stature demands certain protocol. I am at a disadvantage.
We rarely have the pleasure of seeing one in person, that's true. Pup, Brother Aldous taught you who the Grey Wardens are, I hope.
Yeah, they're great warriors. We also kind of saw them in action in the cinematic, so there's no need for introductions.
They are the heroes of legend, who ended the Blights and saved us all. Duncan is looking for recruits before joining us and his fellow Wardens in the south. I believe he's got his eye on Sir Gilmore.
If I might be so bold, I would suggest that your son is also an excellent candidate.
Honor though that might be, this is one of my sons we're talking about.
Hey, that actually sounds pretty enticing.
I have not so many children that I'll gladly see them all off to battle. Unless you intend to invoke the right of conscription.
Have no fear. While we need as many good recruits as we can find, I've no intention of forcing the issue.
Pup, can you ensure that Duncan's requests are seen to while I'm gone?
Sure, that actually sounds fantastic.
In the meantime, find Fergus, and tell him to lead the troops to Ostagar ahead of me.
Whoa, what's the matter with that? Where is he?
Upstairs in his chambers, no doubt. Spending some last moments with his wife and my grandson. Be a good lad and do as I've asked. We'll talk soon.
Well, it seems like they want to have their own conversation without me. They have a lot of things to talk about, which I guess is fine. What they did mention, however, was the right of conscription, which is a very important term here in Dragon Age. You see, the Grey Wardens are kind of a big deal. They're very important in the land, and they're very, very highly respected. Because of that, they have certain benefits or certain rights. The right of conscription is the right for them to pretty much take whoever they want. They can come into a place and be like, hey, okay, we need you to fight the Darkspawn with us, and it's kind of a dishonor to deny them the right of that. That's why my dad was kind of pretty nervous about it.
Shouldn't you be off to your brother, as I asked?
But I want to talk to Duncan. I gotta figure out how to do that.
Your brother and I go into battle, not an afternoon tea. Who knows what will happen to us? I will tell you, however, you're my cherished son. I love you, and I trust you completely to carry on the Cousland name if the worst should happen. But don't worry about me, dear boy. You'll have enough to occupy your mind while I'm gone.
It's very interesting that you have to talk to him again just for him to tell you that he loves you. Which is cool, because if you're normally playing through the game and you don't talk to him again, which could happen as well, you just leave, he never gets to say it to you. Which I think is very interesting. Although, what's even more interesting is that I'm concerned that we're sending all our forces to the south.
When the king demands it. In fact, not sending our forces south would be a distinctly bad idea. Don't worry, pup. You shouldn't see many problems, but I want you to prepare the men left here, in case.
Interesting. In case of what, though?
Legends of the Blights tell of horrible things. These Darkspawn once threatened many lands. If we can't hold them, you must prepare for the worst.
Damn. Now you're scaring me, dude.
The thought scares me too. But we are Cousland men, and we must be brave. But let's not speak of ominous things. We shall assume that all will go well, and the Maker will watch over us.
Alright, sounds good to me.
I'll talk to you soon. Just let me finish my meeting with Duncan.
Fantastic! One thing that I want to do before I leave, however, I'll mention that his daughter is interested in me, guys. I can't just let that go. Dragon Age. Dragon Age.
Yes?
I love Haze Dogs. Yes. Your daughter is interested in me, right?
The topic has come up from time to time. The young and their infatuations.
I get the impression she didn't like me.
I'm sure that was years ago. People change. To be honest, I have no expectations. And your father seems determined to let you find your own way. If something did happen, well, we'd address it as befits a family of our stature.
I love how he talks. It's like, I know that we're all spoiled since we're all nobles, but he's like particularly well spoiled. I think I like that.
I'm sure there will be much to discuss once I return.
Damn, nice. I'm already getting ahead of myself here. There's one thing that I do want to tell him, though. I just want to wish you well, Arlhow.
I thank you. That is quite unnecessary.
You're such a creep, dude. Alright, we will talk to Duncan later so we don't have to worry about this. Now, you go out. This is our home. This is the castle where we've been living our whole life. Now, the main reason why, let me show you guys here real quick. The main reason why I wanted to level up Deft Hands was because you can open doors with it. As you can see, you get experience, you unlock it, and you can open it. Guys, you will not come back to this castle after the origin story is concluded. Which means that whatever it's in here, and in the entirety of the castle, you will not be able to get. It's important to explore it now, because you will not get the chance later. Okay, good. On the other hand, the things that you actually get are not that important. You see, we get a maze, we get a greenstone, we get experience for opening chests as well. It's not just doors. And there's another chest. Another greenstone, cool. Guys, there is really not that much to get. Oh, thank you. Good evening to you, dude. There's really not that much to get. It's mostly just elf roots and mushrooms, you know, things that allow you to make poisons and potions. Not that big of a deal. But regardless, it's important. If you want to get everything there is to get, then you have to do it this way. Now, guys, why don't we figure out what's the religion in this game? Let's go and see if we can talk to the Mother Metal.
Maker, prepare a place for us. Redeem our world from sin. Forgive our transgressions.
Maker, forgive us all.
Have you come to pray for your brother and father? I'd be happy to ask for the Maker's blessings with you.
That actually sounds fantastic, sure.
Please, child, call me Malol. I've known you since you were a wee babe after all. Creator of the sky, the land, and the sea. Hear your people in our time of need.
Maker, watch over us.
Let no man have cause to fear the shadows. Let their souls be lifted upon your return. So let it be.
Maker, forgive us all.
There now. I'll be keeping a vigil tonight. You're welcome to come. There are many more who must receive the Maker's blessings before they leave. If you would excuse me.
Sure. Thank you.
It is the least I could do. If the worst comes to pass, child, take comfort in knowing that the Maker's will takes many forms. We shall talk once the soldiers have departed.
And there you go. We get a little... Sir, we got a little glimpse as to what the religion of Dragon Age is. Although I guess it's the main religion, because there are different religions. As we will figure out later, this is the Andrastian religion that circles around the prophet Andraste. Andraste was a woman of a lot of power from generations ago that united all the elves and all the slaves and defeated the Empire, or I guess it's the Imperium is what it was called. And now people venerate her as a god, which is cool. She was considered to be the bride of the Maker being that, well, I guess the universal god in this world. I don't really want to get too in-depth in it since we're going to be exploring it later in later episodes, but I want to go into the Codex. Codex. Now, the Codex is where all the information that you gather in the game is going to be recorded in. You can see magic and religion, you got the commanders of the Maker, you have an explanation of what the Maker is, and there's more stuff here. There's a lot of stuff. Creatures, items, there's all kinds of things. Very, very important. No, I guess, you know what, I'll talk about that later. For now, the commanders of the Maker. I'm not gonna explain every single thing. I actually have a nice feature for this video that I'll show later that will help me kind of explain every single codex entry that I get. For now, all I wanted to do was touch on this particular entry here. Magic exists to serve man and never to rule over him. Foul and corrupt are they who have taken his gift and turned it against his children. They shall meaning Maleficar, accursed ones. they shall find no rest in this world or beyond. Guys, magic in this game is... You see, I wouldn't say that it's considered to be frowned upon as much as people are very afraid of magic. Magic in this game is very, very powerful. It can do things you wouldn't even imagine. And because of that, and because of this particular belief, magic users are, see, I don't want to say jailed, I don't want to say corralled, but they're devoid of free will, maybe? When a child when a child shows affinity for magic, they get taken, well, not necessarily by force, but kind of. They get taken into the Circle of Magi, which is like a school of magic, kind of like a Hogwarts in Harry Potter, I guess. And in this school of magic, they get taught how to use magic, how to manipulate it, and how to not use it for evil. And who's the one that, well, who are the jailers of the magicians? Well, the Chantry, of course. The Chantry is the church in this game. I'm gonna call it the Chantry from now on. But yeah, priests, Templars, and Crusaders are the ones that jail the magic users, and because of that, they're super resistant to magic. We'll get us to them later. For now, just a little basic kind of introduction to the religion of this game. Very important, guys. Now, Dragon Age. Dragon Age is all about exploration, guys.
Good evening, my lord.
Thank you! So nice! This game is all about exploring the surroundings, opening doors, getting to chests, getting items. That's the beauty of any traditional RPG. It's the best! It's why this is one of my favorite games of all time, because there's always things to find. Oh, I think I missed a chest there. Yeah, almost missed it. Yes. Pretty cool. Now, the thing is, as I said before, there's really not that much here. Just because this is supposed to be like a tutorial section, so there really isn't that much to
Good
find.
evening, my lord.
Jesus Christ, can't have any privacy here. So I'm not gonna go through every door. As you can see, you have all the map. You can see the entirety of the castle. Normally, most of the map would be blurred to us. We wouldn't be able to see it all, but since it is our home, we can see it, which is fantastic. Now, why don't we go here for a second?
There you are. Your mother told me the Terran had summoned you, so I didn't want to interrupt.
Oh, hello to you, Sir Gilmore.
Pardon my manners, my lord. It's simply that I've been looking all over the castle for you. I fear your hound has the kitchens in uproar once again, and is threatening to leave.
Again? Oh man, this dog is trouble.
No matter how the maids try to keep him out, he always finds a way in. You know these Mabari hounds. They listen only to their master. Anyone else risks having an arm bitten off.
Oh, come on. My dog would never do that. He's such a good boy.
I'm not willing to test that. You're quite lucky to have your own Mabari warhound, you know. Smart enough not to talk, my father used to say. Of course, that means he's easily bored. Nan swears he confounds her just to amuse himself. At any rate, your mother would have me accompany you until the matter is settled, shall we?
To the kitchen then, Batman.
Just follow the yelling. When Nan's unhappy, she makes sure everyone knows it.
Funny, you can actually hear the dog from here, which I think is kind of interesting. But, guys, we have a companion. You can have a maximum of 4 companions in this game, and they are very important. You see, the game, if you play it on normal or anything higher than normal as well, the game can be very difficult, so it's always nice to have companions. As you can see, we can change between companions. We can, well, play with really anyone, which is cool, but most of the time I'm gonna play with my main character. We'll get us to, you know, more. I'll explain more of the companion thing later as we get more companions, but just to touch on the basics, you see that we get gear. This one is just a temporary companion, so he's not really going to, well, we can't really change his gears and stuff, but they all share items and equipment, so that's kind of nice. Anyways, let's go to the kitchen and see what's going on here.
Get that bloody mutt out of the larder.
But mistress, it won't let us near.
If I can't get into that larder, I'll skin both of you useless elves, I swear it.
Calm down, good woman. We've come to help.
You and you. Your bloody mongrel keeps getting into my larder. That beast should be put down.
Jesus, that is such an aggressive statement.
Just get him gone. I've enough to worry about with a castle full of hungry soldiers. You two, stop standing there like idiots. Get out of the way.
Well, why don't we come and see what the hell is going on here?
Oh, look at that mess. How did he even get in here?
Oh my god, who's a good boy? Who's a smart boy?
Oh, encourage the hound, why don't you? No wonder he keeps giving Nan fits. He does seem like he's trying to tell you something. Wait, did you hear that?
There you go! So, we get a new companion! A dog. Now we should put him a name. Now, for those of you who are very well versed in Dragon Age, I guess, would probably know where this comes from. And for those of you who don't, at least you'll find this hilarious. The name that I'm gonna give the dog is Darkspawn. Yeah, like Darkspawn, but with bark because he's a... Okay, good! Let's do this. Now, this is the combat of Dragon Age. As you can see, it is an action RPG. However, this is the main kind of thing about Dragon Age. You can actually pause the combat at any point in time. It is going to be very much necessary later on in the game. Why? Because later on in the game, the enemies become a lot more difficult and you get a lot more skills and spells, and you know, after that kind of happens, then you probably need a lot more tactics, I guess. The beauty of this is, as you can see, I can change between companions, as I said before. It's useful because you can change into the dog and you can use the skills or give him a target to attack, then you can go back to Gilmore and I don't know, choose whatever ability you want him to do, and then you can go back to your character and choose another ability. It's pretty nice. It kind of gives it a nice strategic kind of vibe to the game, but it's not necessary if you're not into it. Anyways, here's the combat. Pretty self-explanatory, you can see it. Let's kill the last rat.
Giant rats? It's like the start of every bad adventure tale my grandfather used to tell. Your hound must have chased them in through their holes. Looks like he wasn't raiding the larder after all.
Of course not, he's such a good boy. It really does look that way, but those were massive rats though.
I've seen larger. They come up from the Kokari wilds sometimes. But seeing as you've got your Mabari well in hand, I'll be on my way. I'm to prepare for the arrival of more of the Isle's men.
And there you go! We defeated our first enemy, or that's a lot of rats though. But as you can see, our companion left. That's gonna be a thing that'll happen a lot in this game. We're gonna get companions, they're gonna leave, but eventually we're gonna get characters that are gonna stay for us for the long haul. Like our dog, he's gonna stay with us forever. If you start as a human noble, you actually get the dog early on. Other characters will get him later, and through a different quest. One cool thing about the dog, and more specifically about the human noble, getting him early, is that you get an ability. His ability is that he can look and find items on the ground. Let's see if he finds something. Do you see anything interesting? He's gonna run off and see if he can find something. Darkspawn doesn't seem to have found anything. Sometimes he does it, sometimes he doesn't. There's a list of random items that you can get at every really part in the game, and he's gonna, well, find them for you. Some of those are gifts, some of those are actual health poultices, and some of them are unique items. I'll let you guys know if we ever find something cool, and I'll let you guys know where those locations are. The other ability that he has is that he can clean you of your blood. You see that after the battle, we're pretty messy. Let's see, can you do something about this gory mess? As you can see, he's gonna lick you off. That sounds weird, and you are cleaned off. Fantastic. It really serves no purpose gameplay-wise, like it doesn't matter in dialogues or anything. It's just for, well, for aesthetic purposes, which is great. Wooden crate, let's get some copper. Let's get the elf fruit, fantastic. Copper is the most basic form of currency you have. 100 copper gives you 1 silver, and then 100 silver gives you 1 gold. There's nothing above gold in this game. Now, that we're done here, let's talk to Nan.
There he is, as brazen as you please, licking his chops after helping himself to the roast, no doubt.
No, he was actually being a good boy. They were massive rats, dude.
What? Rats? Not the large grey ones.
They'll rip you to shreds, they will!
See, now you've gone and scared the servants. I expect those filthy things are dead.
Yeah, they actually are.
Oh, I bet that dog led those rats into there to begin with. Oh, don't even start with the sad eyes. I'm immune to your so-called charms. Here then, take these pork bits and don't say that Nan never gives you anything. Bloody dog. Thank you, my lord. Now we can get to work. That's right, you two. Quit standing about.
And there you go. Darkspawn. This guy can persuade anyone to do whatever he wants. It's fantastic. We don't even need our main character. He can just persuade the whole game. He is kind of great. But there you go. We completed that quest. We battled some rats. Things are going our way. That's fantastic. And we can get to keep him, which is even better. As you can see, we can also use him, which is great. He's really good. I guess I'll get us to his stats and skills later on as we kind of start to encounter more enemies, which is... it's probably a better way to explain stats and skills once we start fighting people. If you want to proceed through the story, that's where you go. It's, there's our mom, the Turna Eleanor, and talking to some of our family friends. But before I do that, let me see if I can... There's still a couple of things that I want to touch on before we go there. This is the library. Now, we went through the codex before, where I showed you guys where you can get all the information that you get from the game. Now, as I said before, I'm not going to cover every single codex and everything it says, because that would take forever. It'll make every episode a nightmare. Because of that, I have a new system. Check this out. Here's the book item. You can find a lot of these items in the game that you can just click like this. And then you get experience and you get a new codex entry. As you can see, you can click in there and it shows you here. Look at all that. That's horrible. It's a lot of stuff. I don't want you guys to read all that, so instead I'm gonna do this. Yep. Whenever I grab a new codex entry, I'm gonna show you guys what it says in a summarized version right down there. That way I don't have to cover it, I don't have to waste time with it, and if you guys want to read it, there it is. It's just a better system. I'm gonna do this for not just things that I find around, but also for new codex entries that I find either through locations or because... or with dialogue options, because some people will tell you about groups of people or locations and then it'll update your codex. I will figure out which ones are interesting to know, and based on that I'll show them if I feel like they're important. But sometimes you're gonna find codexes that are important, but they're gonna be better explained by characters, and if that happens, then I won't show them. So just know that if I show it, it's because it's very important and there's not gonna be a circumstance where it's gonna be explained better. Good. Now that we have done that, there's another object here that I want to explore. There's another book.
And I'm off.
There you go. So you get another example of how I'm going to make this work. I hope you guys like this. Anyways, before we move on, there's something I want to talk about with Aldous.
Hello, my dear boy. By chance, I am beginning to teach these young squires about your family's history.
Do we have to? History is boring.
Boys, you are referring to the Couslands, the very family in whose castle you live. Show some respect.
Dude, it is boring, though.
I see you haven't changed. Perhaps it would benefit you to join our lesson?
Sure. The reason I talk to this guy is because there's one little thing that I want to learn from this that I want you guys to hear. Sure, I'd be happy to.
Wonderful. Oh, the Cousland history is long indeed. Where shall we start?
What I want to cover is the relationship between us and Earl Howe.
The history between the Couslands and the Howes reaches back to the Orlesian occupation.
Go on.
During the rebellion against Orlais, several battles were fought near Highever. The port village of Harper's Ford was the tournier's center. Its Earl was Tarleton Howe. Though nearly 90, he was still as sharp and bitter as cheap ale. Your grandfather openly supported the rebellion, but Howe sided with Orlais. Your family was forced to seize Harper's Ford before it was all over.
There you go. But my father and Howe are old friends.
The Howes eventually joined the rebellion, when all of Ferelden united behind King Merrick and General Loghain. Just as now we united behind Merrick's son, King Cailan, to fight the Darkspawn.
So as you can see, the Howe family are kind of opportunistic assholes. They sided with Orlais probably because they felt like they had the best chance of survival, and then when the rebellion kind of got started, they changed allegiances. Not people you really want to trust, it seems like. But also, on the other hand, it also tells us that we did take a sizable part of something that was, I guess, owned by the Howe family, which I guess is kind of important. Doesn't matter. It's time to end the lesson.
Thank you for indulging an old man.
Does that mean we have to listen to you now?
Silence! I will not have you two becoming smart-mouthed hooligans. Perhaps you should go. I doubt they need any more distraction. I'm just going to settle in here and apparently just talk to myself for all the good I'm doing. Myself all this while he will do this.
I bet he probably does that a lot, talking to himself. Anyways, there is nothing else that we want to do here in the library, so we can leave. There's one last thing that I want to touch on here before I finish, is going into the guard post. There's something down there that I want to see. But yeah, I just want you guys to see the relationship between our family and Howard, because there's some history in there, and they're old friends after that, so it's all cool. But I think it's probably important. Anyways, I think this is hilarious.
All right.
Oh, my lord, we were just,
ignoring your duties.
Well, the treasury's safe. I'm not even sure why the Terran stationed us here.
Interesting that you always question your duties.
No, my lord, of course not.
Psst, playing cards. Ridiculous. And perhaps you should better get back to work.
Yes, my lord. Thank you, my lord.
It's funny, you enter here and they're playing cards. Totally not protecting the treasury, although, to be honest, being there and then being there and there, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Doesn't matter.
Good evening, my lord.
Good evening, sir. If you talk to them further, then they'll tell you that the key to the treasury is actually being held by either the Terran or the Terranas, or our dad or mom, which is information that'll come really useful later on the next episode now. For now, I think that's all I want to do for this episode. This video is going really long. I wanted to cover more, but there's just no time, dude. I don't want to make this episode way longer than it is. So, guys, I hope you've been enjoying this. This is gonna be a very, very long series that I've been working really hard on. As you guys can see, there's a lot of research that kind of, well, had to be done just for all of this, but I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know if you guys do. Guys, see you all next time.